And we are live. So happy Wednesday, everybody. Today we have got the awesome Mr. Billy Fuller on the call. Billy actually finished with us, actually probably nearly like a month ago now, Billy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he's kindly taken 20, 30 minutes out of his day to talk about his experience in the 1% Blueprint. Before we jump into that, Bill, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so I am a director of a foreign exchange company based in Canary Wharf. Been running for about 4.5 years now. Still just got a partner, no kids yet, but yeah, relatively young, 28, so just on the grind really.
Nice. So Billy, let's rewind a few months ago. You might have saw a few of my bits on LinkedIn. I think maybe someone else did a post about their experiences of us working together. You reached out and we grabbed a chat. What was your motivation back then, for having a conversation?
Yeah, so really interesting to be fair. So I wasn't necessarily massively struggling, like I wasn't like depressed or anything like that, but I was struggling balancing my work life and personal life. And I found since starting the business 4 years ago, I basically was giving everything to the business and nothing to myself. So I see like my health drop off, obviously being lethargic 24/7, just not sleeping right, just being a bit of a lazy git. But the business was really well, and I always had this thought that maybe if I give too much to myself, the business will then slack. And then I always thought that was my main priority and what made me happy. But then I was just again struggling more and more, and then come across your page and your bio basically just hit the nail on the head perfectly with guys like me basically. So obviously what you specialize in, basically what I read just off the back was guys who are basically doing really well in business but suffering in their personal life. So obviously reached out to you, had a good chat. You basically just made it all completely clear what I need to do to basically get on track, and obviously that's when we kicked on. And yeah.
I think like where you're at, Billy, like not to belittle your situation either. Unfortunately, I think it's very common. I think there's lots of guys out there, and it's like work your bollocks off, want to provide, want to be successful, make the money, and that's great, and we all want those things. But more often than not, it comes at a sacrifice of your physical and mental well-being, and then like also your personal life, because everything's going into the business, but then actually you're neglecting yourself and your own well-being, right? And then you get to a point where you feel feeling a bit stuck, because it's like, well, I wanted all this stuff and I've got here, and I'm a bit like, well, how can I make it work? And I'm so busy, and if I drop the ball here, then it's all going to fall over, and you get stuck in like a negative loop of like, well, how can I see the wood for the trees? Because if I don't put all this work in, then it's all going to go tits up. So like I can't do it, and then you end up feeling stuck, or you try stuff and it falls over, right?
This is it, and like it's exactly that. After having the conversation, I'll be honest, at first I was thinking, oh, this could be the wrong move, because obviously I still wasn't quite where I wanted to be in business. But then since I've joined the program and we set the habits in place, now I'm basically in full control of what I'm doing. There's no real like negative attitude towards anything. I balance my day completely with myself and then work. You find yourself, not that you don't care about work as much, because you still care about it, but all of a sudden when you're in a better place personally, you naturally perform better in work anyway in shorter hours. So the actual productivity in the less amount of hours I'm doing is way higher. And like I say, in the last couple of months since joining the program and then continuing, we've gone from strength to strength, record month after record month, and things could be better. And like I say, I'm a lot healthier. I'm like over a stone lighter now. Even if I do have a weekend where I'm being a bit of a pig, I don't cry about it all week. I just get back on the high horse beyond. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, and I think when we spoke, like you remember saying this, there's a lot of that going on. Like you'd you work your ass for the week, and then you sort of like let your hair down, but then maybe go a bit too hard, and then feel bad about it and beat yourself up about it, and then end up in this cyclical nature of like, well, I've worked hard, then I go out and have a lot of fun, then I feel bad because I feel rough, and then it just that cycle continues. And like we said in the program, it's not about total restriction. We want to have fun and enjoy ourselves, but it's making sure that balance is right, and you're not just swinging from one extreme to the other, right?
exactly, and that's it. And it's just so hard to see that when you're not doing that. And then as soon as you put these tiny habits in place that eventually lead to big habits, before you know it, the whole vision becomes clearer. Like I say, even just feeling better. Like I said, when I first spoke to you, my self-esteem was very low. For someone who was doing well for himself, and everyone goes, oh, you're smashing it, you're doing this, you're doing that. But if you don't feel great in yourself, then realistically none of that's relevant anyway.
Well, yeah, well, that's it as well, because it's like, and almost you can end up feeling like you're game facing it. It's like, yeah, it's all great, but internally, if you know you're not looking after yourself, or it's not where you want it to be, you have that sort of disconnect, don't you? So then, if that's where we were, Bill, and you've started to touch on some of the successes, right? Let's fast forward to where we are now. I mean, you said like some record months, lost a chunk of weight. Like, what would you say the big successes that you had from coming out the other end of the program?
So just being way more disciplined for one, just naturally getting in a habit of going to the gym at least 3 or 4 times a week. Whereas before you'd think, oh, that's just not enough. You've got to do it 7 days a week, when that's not true. We had this conversation so many times where sometimes you do get caught up in maybe too much work, or maybe having a heavy weekend, and then you do need an extra day to recover. But then it's not about just going, right, we'll write the week off then and just give up. It's about just thinking, right, well, fuck it, let's get back on our high horse, get back to the gym. Even just doing little things like eating healthy throughout the day, even if you don't feel up to going for the gym, as long as you're being healthy throughout the day, eating really well, doing the meditation, reading some books. And like I say, just trying to lead by example rather than leading by example just in the workplace. And then the knock-on effect you'll have, and the like how positive you'll feel off the back of it, even towards your girlfriend, your friends, your family. They're talking good words about you in other aspects, not just, oh, he makes good money, he's doing really well in business.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
no, that goes so far. But people, you want people to say, oh, he's doing really well. Look how much weight he's lost. Look how fit he looks. You know what I mean? On a holiday, and cool, you've dropped some weight. That's a much way to feel, I think.
Well, and I think also, like, if you're happier in your relationships, in yourself, and you look physically, that's got proper inherent value. Like the business stuff and the money stuff, it's great, and we want to do it, but actually, it's a bit vacuous. Like, it's good to have it, but like external stuff never makes us happy as we think it does. And it's you want to have that, and we want to push ourselves, and we want to have record months, and we want to grow the business, and that's all great. But if that's all you've got, at the detriment to yourself and your relationships and whatever's going on, that's where you go, oh, what's this all about? Whereas actually, what we were saying is we turn that around. And I think some of the stuff that we started with, Billy, and what you're talking about here is it's that, well, okay, I can't do this. What can I do? Rather than just going fuck everything. And I think that's a really powerful place to be operating from. And it sounds really subtle, but it's important, because I think so often not, especially when you're not feeling great, you might try something, it goes wrong. You go, oh, just show myself again, I can't do it. Whereas actually you go, no, we don't have to say no. What else can we do? And breeding that level of thinking, that you can apply that to yourself, for your physicality, how you eat and how you show up and your habits and all that. But then also when you start to do that to yourself, you're like, well, maybe that can play out at work. And although I was doing really well at work, I can be doing even better now, because actually some of that sort of resilience can pay off in other areas, right?
Exactly. And it's like, I always call it little steps, but I look at them as little steps now because they're just a part of the foundation. I'm just doing them all the time. Whereas at first, when you was giving me certain habits to do, and it was a bit like, this is going to be difficult. Obviously, the first few weeks, just to sort of build you up to it, and you think this is too easy, and then all of a sudden you get thrown with heavier and heavier. Right, this is going to be tough, but if you don't feel up to it and you can't smash out the heavy weights or going for the extra run or whatever you want to do, you can always just think, you know what, at least do something. If I'm doing something, the difference that I have on your mental health is ridiculous. And like I said, I was depressed. I wasn't like down in the dumps because I was doing well in all other aspects, but it's just that self-esteem can be built by just doing little things a bit more often. And then some weeks you will go in and you will do 6 days a week at the gym, or sometimes 7 days. Think, wow, this is incredible. But as you said, it doesn't have to be every single minute of every single day. It's just about finding what's going to make you happy throughout that day and contribute to everything as a whole rather than just one thing.
Yeah, and it's having those standards, isn't it? And it's having the consistency. And like, if you're doing these things consistently, like some weeks you can smash the gym 6-7 days, and that'd be great. That's great. You can't do that all the time, and that's also okay. But like, it's when we think we can't do that all the time, therefore I failed. It's like, no. There's a middle ground here. And when you're in better control of your physical health, your physical and mental health and mental well-being are like inextricably linked. Like you're one whole unit. I think sometimes I almost talk about them separately, and they're not. And like, if you're starting to take ownership and build discipline around your physicality, well, you control the mind with the body to some extent. There's loads of what you can do to make that feel better. Now, that's not to say we don't want good habits around mental health. We don't want to look at some of the deeper things that hold us back and all those other things. They're not important, because they're really important, and that's part of what we work on as well. But I think also taking care of yourself physically goes so far to helping you be in a better state and raising your self-esteem,
Exactly, and there was another thing that's really stuck out when we was going through it. I can be naturally very like regimented. If I get my head stuck into something, which is probably why I do well business wise, I just get so fully obsessed with it. and have to do it perfectly. But I remember saying to you, it was getting quite tough adding everything on, like adding more and more layers on top of it. And you was like, just pick and choose what you can and can't do, and then maybe take another look at it. And I've basically taken, like I said to you at the end of the program, I've basically created like a pick and mix of all the great habits I've learned, and I've got my own sort of like, if you will, like program going on with myself. Yeah. Which is, I think, as long as I get the certain, which this is mad to say this, but non-negotiables, I've never actually heard that saying before, which is mad. I don't know why, but I seem to hear that saying all the time now when I listen to podcasts and things like that. Non-negotiables are part of every high performer's life. And if you don't have certain non-negotiables, then what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? You do need a couple where you get them every single day, and that sets you up for a good day. No matter if the day goes bad business-wise, you have a row with your girlfriend, or anything could go bad. But as long as you get them non-negotiables done, I feel like you've actually achieved something.
Well, that's it, and it's having those set standards and that baseline, and that's where the discipline comes in. Like Mike Tyson, there's a video of him, and he's talking to Joe Rogan. He's like, without discipline, you're nobody and nothing. And he's like, it's interesting. And he says, discipline is doing the things you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. Now, that's not to say the things that we want to do we hate, right? Because some of them genuinely you want to do and make you feel good. But it's like, if you've got that ritualized action and habits in your life, that builds the discipline. And so then when it comes to doing them, sometimes, and maybe you are tired or you're not as motivated as normal, but you'll do it anyway because you've shown yourself you do that. And that continual process raises your self-esteem. High performers don't just do random shit all over the place. Like, that's not how it works, you know. And I think what you said there about the pick and mix is really important. And that's what I said to the program. I say to all the guys, I actually did a post about this yesterday. You're never going to get all of it done, and you can't. And that's the point. And we need to accept that. And when you do, you're like, oh, okay, well, now I've accepted that. Well, what can I do and how am I going to make it work for me? And some weeks and sometimes you can do loads more of it and it feels great. Other times life's a shit show and you're getting lemons thrown at you all the time. Well, that's okay. Well, let's do what we can to turn those lemons into lemonade. It might not be perfect, but that's good enough. And the more we can roll with that, that's what high performers do. High performers don't do a load of like shiny life hacks perfectly 24/7. They fucking roll with it. But they've got their non-negotiables. Does that make sense or resonate?
Literally to a T. Like, there's certain things every day, just even the 10,000 steps. I was so surprised how that can get you up for the day. I would just walk the dog at 6 a.m. every morning now, put a podcast on, and then do that, make sure that's done. That basically makes me ready to get going with exercise for the day. And then I'll go to work, straight after work from 5:30 to 8:30, go to the gym, and then I'll sit in the sauna, do my sauna. Them three things are just, if I get them three done, I just feel completely fine. No matter how bad the day's gone, how well the day's gone, I sort of just forget about it and feel like I've got my walk in, I've gone for a good exercise. And then, as you say, even with the exercise, at first, I'm not going to lie, I've never really enjoyed weights and things like that. I used to prefer going for a run because I've always, like I said to you before, been into football. That's naturally what I've been used to. But then you do these weights and all of a sudden I feel like saying to everyone, you do have to go through a tough time to get at the other end of it. If you break through it being a bit annoyed and like, oh, I don't enjoy it, just start lighter and do a few more reps and then just phase yourself in that way. Eventually you build yourself up. And then before you know it, I rarely go for a run now. I actually enjoy doing the weights, and how much better you feel off the back of it. Obviously that might be what works for me now, but I just think that if you just force yourself to do it sometimes, and sometimes you're not like you're on my case 24/7, but just being accountable each week, facing up to the facts, and you come across and you make sure you do it, because you don't want to get onto a call with everyone else and be like, and lie, do you know what I mean? Because you look like I feel like everyone knows. I feel like you feel the guilt deep down, whereas I did it and being like, right, I've done that, and all of a sudden you can't imagine a day realistically without, well, for me, I can't imagine going through a whole week without going to the gym at least 3 times a week. I just feel like even if it comes to it, I've forced myself in there at some point, even if it's 9 o'clock at night. I just
think that's the non-negotiable part as well. It's not the non-negotiable isn't doing it every day religiously and killing yourself to do it. It's knowing that you need to have some physical activity in your day, in your life regularly, and part of that you enjoy is being in the gym and throwing some weights around. Now, as you know, in the program is about turning people into bodybuilders, and some guys don't get on with it or can't, and that's fine as well. But on the flip side, actually, I think for most men and women as well, but most guys, doing some form of resistance training is quite empowering, because you lift one weight for a bit and then all of a sudden you can lift more. Well, that's black and white. You've got stronger. No one else has done that. Your body has changed to do that. And that's, I think that in itself is powerful. But then also you look better and you feel good. And I think often you have these narratives where, oh, I don't like lifting weights. It's rubbish. It's boring. And actually, you try it and you challenge that narrative and lean into some discomfort, like you said. You go, "Oh, up a second, actually, maybe I do really actually quite enjoy this." And it's just a story I've been telling myself. Some people say that about running. A lot of guys go like, "I hate running." Okay, when's the last time you did a run? 15 years ago. Okay, well let's maybe test that then. Do you know? No, like
Yeah,
go out and do another one. But if you go out and if you go into it telling yourself you're going to hate it, you probably will.
of
If you go
course.
into it and going, actually, maybe I want to challenge myself and empower myself, and I might enjoy this. It's a different frame, and I think you lent into that, Billy, and then the net result is where we are today, right? And I think
Yeah,
the calls bit is good too, because it's not about you come on the call and get bollocked. It's like, well, if something's gone wrong, well, let's understand it and let's fix it and get to the root cause of it, because just saying, "Oh, dickhead, do it again, do it better next time," that isn't going to help anyone. Actually going, well, what's actually happened here? What can we do differently? Then that's where you unlock people's potential, right? Because you work out what's going on and what's holding them back.
exactly. And like I say, it was on them calls. At first, I would honestly dread them to think, do I need to? Because I remember saying to you before I joined the program, I don't know about those sort of calls, and you was like, honestly, just do it once a week, it's fine. And then I loved them because you get to see the progress from someone who's 12 weeks into 1 week in, all the different stages, their opinions on their challenges they're facing. Then you can speak up and go, well, I did this and this worked for me, and before you know it, like you haven't, it's not got to be so regimented. You don't have to be, obviously you're just going to guide us to where we need to be and what we should do. It's not like it has to be done that exact certain way, because as long as you've got, like I say, the fundamentals and the foundations there, and you're actually doing it and not pretending, then you will come out on top. And like I say, just having pure ownership of your actual decisions. Yeah, if you have a heavy night on the drink, you're not going to wake up crying the next day. You've accepted, right, I'm having one alcohol day this week and I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to go in half-hearted. And all of a sudden the next day, you're not waking up crying about it and saying, I feel over. You know what, I've been gym 4 or 5 times this week. You know what, I'm actually going to eat some shit on Sunday as well. I'm gonna have a hangover day and I'm going to eat some shit, but I'm going to get back on it tomorrow anyway and finish the next 6 days on a high anyway.
Strong. Exactly. And for me, that's what it's about. It's about balance. It's not living like a monk 24/7, and we want to be able to do that. But that's just all about the frame. It's like, okay, I chose to get pissed. I'm good with that. I chose to feel shit the next day. I'm good with that. I'm going to eat some shit today. I'm going to enjoy myself because I'm allowed to. I'm a grown up. I'll do that. Tomorrow,
Yeah.
I'm on it. And that's not, Monday start again. It's shit. It's because you'll feel good doing the things you want to do on a Monday. You've constantly chosen to do that. So you constantly choose the next thing. And that's the ownership piece, right? And when you've got that, you're not going, beating yourself up. You're like, no. It's cool. I've got this. I'm allowed to do that, and I'm going to do this next. And that's a much more empowered place to operate from.
And exactly, and it's just like going back to the little things like just making sure you're getting your non-negotiables done. Before, you would just blame everything externally, why you can't do this, why you're not doing this, why you can't do this. And it's just like you're forever blaming everything around you and maybe people around you for too much workload, when really you've not. You just got to just get your time better together and actually schedule your day a bit more. Wake up an hour earlier, give that extra hour to you rather than just waking up last minute, getting ready, going into work, giving it 110% and thinking you deserve the world when really you don't. You've still got some more to do. And when you do them things, like I said, you're setting examples for everyone, not just you and yourself, everyone else around you just feels.
Well, you start like you're practicing what you preach for yourself internally, which is the best place to operate from. But then actually, everyone comes in your wake because you're doing those same things as well. And it's like you're not just saying stuff; you're doing it. And I'm like, oh bloody hell! Look at him. And that's a great place to be. Look, Billy, I know we've spent a good time chatting. I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know, given what we said, you're a very busy man. I think the chat's been great. I think if anyone's watching, hopefully got a lot out of it. My final question to you, if someone was sat watching this, they were in a similar situation to you, like we chatted about a few months back, but maybe they're on the fence, they're not sure about a coach, they're a bit sort of wary about the whole process, maybe they've never had a coach or anything like this in the past. What would you say to someone who was like kind of in your shoes previously and was sitting on the fence?
I would say, well, I don't know anyone who's got their shit together that bad, who's not gone through this type of thing. I know a couple of guys who have gone through this sort of, including me now, that I was on the fence for ages. One of my really good mates who I'm actually seeing tonight, he's gone through these things. He had a life coach for a few years, and he's always said to me, give it a go. And I was like, you get so like ego takes over and you think you don't need one, and you're completely fine on your own, where if I want to do it, I'll just do it off my own back. But honestly, I would recommend it to everyone and anyone just for 3 months of their life, because you do it for 3 months, you do build some actual core foundations that don't just go astray straight after. Like these are literally completely built in me now. At first, I was a bit when we like in the first couple of weeks, you think, is this really going to work? You have your doubts, of course, but when you're like kicks in, you think, oh, I don't want this to end. You just like you start recommending it to your friends. You try and tell them what you're doing to try and get them to do it, because I feel like it makes you quite proud as well that you've actually gone out your own way, taken on a coach, dropped all the ego again, can face up to again another man and another group of men and say, look, it's not all gravy, it's not all perfect, but we're doing some extra things now to get it on track. And then after that, if you still need some help, then of course go and get some more. But I think until that point where it does go completely astray, I just feel completely fine now. So I just recommend it to absolutely everyone and anyone, really. Even if you are at tip-top form, even you say to me, you still have coaches sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I've got a coach. Like I said this, I think it says a lot of people. If you ever work with a coach that doesn't have a coach, they're a fraud because they don't believe in personal development. And there's levels, right? And a lot of the gents about getting some foundation and basics, but then after that, it's blue fucking sky. There's all sorts. We chat about this as well, Billy. Like right now, it's so good, but in the future, I'm sure there might be more work we do together. And that's not about fixing. It's not always about fixing problems. It's about no. There's big shit I want to do here. Well, it's about helping you support into that. That's that next step as well. So no, that's I totally agree. I think I'm not going to say it because I'm a coach. Everyone should have a coach. It's not biased.
I've just listened to so many podcasts, and all top performers all have mentors in every aspect in their life, which is obviously coaches basically. So I would just recommend anyone, even if you're not smashing work life, if not just get a coach just for 3 months and just see how it can change your perspective. Perception on everything, and it's a game changer. I just think it's ridiculous how well it comes out.
Awesome. Well, mate, Billy, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for that ringing endorsement. I really appreciate it. Hope anyone who's watching this has got a lot out of it. I think Billy's been really open and honest about his situation and giving you some good pearls of wisdom here from how we work and what we do. So, Billy, thank you for your time. It's much appreciated. For anyone else who's watching this, if you are interested in having a conversation or a chat with me, drop a note in the comments or send me a DM and we can have a chat. In the meantime, everyone have a great week. Billy, you're a legend. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, mate. Take care and have a great week, guys. Thank you. Cheers.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.